What's this nice ebony crown? Why does some instruments have it and some not? Does it create a better sound? Stay tuned and I explain you. Hello, back again. This is Edgar from Cremona, Italy. We are building here the best sounding instruments, and today I would like to go into a tiny detail I have never talked about. The ebony crown. It is here where the neck is inserted into the body. Some instruments have it and some don't. Even if we look in the book of Stradivari, Guarnieri, whatever, we can see instruments have it and others don't. Kuchanski, immediately the next instrument after the hi-hat, doesn't have it. When I started violin making, actually, I didn't really think too much about it. And for me, it was somehow obvious that because the hand is always touching this edge here of the neck, it's consumed. And indeed, it's always a little bit, the varnish is fading away and is consuming. And then, of course, the wood as well, just like the edge of the instrument. But we never see the edge made out of ebony, right? I just thought in the beginning it's because this is consuming, and then at a certain point when it has been played a lot, you put the ebony crown on it. Like a metal for instrument, when it's very good sounding and a lot of playing in the past centuries, then, it applies for the ebony crown and then it looks great again. Then later on, I discovered actually that the great masters put the instrument, of course, not with a neck like this into the body. They didn't insert the neck into it, but they put it on it. And very often they even made the button a little bit larger, because the neck was much larger. The Baroque neck was like, I think, even 4 or 5 millimeters larger than what we have right now. So when they transformed the instruments, of course, those instruments were already precious instruments. They wanted to get the best out of it, and so the best makers in the world made a neck craft and inserted the neck into the body. So you don't see anything on the ribs, of course, because there was already the original rib underneath the neck. So this is not the point. While here the end button, they just focus to make it very nicely centered. And sometimes the great masters, they didn't focus too much about exactly the measurement, the halves, everything. And especially on an instrument where it is a jointed bag, if this is not perfectly centered, you would immediately recognize. So here on the hi-hat Guarnieri, it's nicely centered. Very nice. Even Marco on his violin made it very nice. Kuchanski is a one-piece bag. You don't really discover that this is now in the middle or not. And maybe it was completely moved on one side or to another one. And then when they put it in the new modern neck, they just took off one from one side and they made a nice end button, okay? But sometimes material is not enough. So the whole neck, there's something missing, and this missing part, they replaced it with the ebony crown. The main reason they put it in is because they want all to center everything. Nowadays, people want the things nice, and especially the more you pay for it, the more you want to see everything perfect and not like this, yeah? So they just moved it. But for the quality of the instrument, if this is centered or not, actually doesn't really influence the sound of the instrument. Sounds now strange, but it's important is the top. The top is the main part, and I have somehow the impression that the great masters knew already what they did, and they only focused on what was really necessary. And in these years, things, if it's centered or not, they didn't really care about it. They cared more about the general appearance, if it's nice and everything, and if there is now the joint in the middle or not, they didn't care that much. Just to show you how that whole thing works, actually, is also interesting, because I always was a little bit afraid, oh damn, that must be so much work. It takes a little bit of time, 2-3 hours, and you fit it. If it is well fit, it glues on wood to wood, and it won't go away. The main enemy of the ebony crown is the sweat of the hand. If somebody has a very sweaty, wet hand, the sweat goes inside, and this is like acid, and it's somehow losing the ebony crown. I've seen it once in my life that the ebony crown went down just like this, and you say, oh, this is the ebony crown, okay? I just thought today I have actually to do here something. I cleaned all my working bench. Rarely you can see it like this. I think in the past 3 years it's the cleanest working bench. just cleaned it for you. And this is the violin of Marco, and you see it, and this is the Guarneri Heifetz. And if you look at it, and here we had the Guarneri Heifetz. If you make a copy, it's always nice that you capture the same style of the ebony crown on the copy you are making. So I think it's nice to have it. A very interesting book where I learned a lot about the ebony crown has been the book from Hans Weishaar and Margaret Shipman. My copy of this book is a very precious one because I have the personal dedication from Margaret Shipman, was in September 2009 to Edgar, and she wrote a nice article because my students went to work with her and things like this. And here they explain very well, and they have these templates. So in the very beginning, my first ebony crowns, I remember I made my first one for the Montagnana Sleeping Beauty, and for a Guarneri, I made the template just like how they did it, out of aluminum, and I took their copy and I made everything, and that's actually a good starting point. Then you discover certainly that later on you have, let's say, the Lord Wilton is not so perfect and a little bit angles a little bit different, and so I just made a copy of the Lord Wilton ebony crown. And then I have a bunch of those, you know, I have like the Guarneri Heifetz, the Guarneri Olebul, the Isae, mainly Guarneris. I put those on. This drawing actually is eye-opening because here you see actually that there is an idle button. On this side here, you see actually that they take from one side when the whole thing was moved and not centered. They took one part and they moved it to the other side over there to put it inside. This is the idle situation that you can still, with the original material, solve your problem that it's not centered. And in case this is not enough anymore, then you can make this part, plus to keep it together, you put an ebony crown, yeah? So sometimes you see some instruments where they move one part or the other one, and you just see this tiny, tiny bit, of course, much smaller than this one. If it's that much, then you use it, and then you put the ebony crown on it, yeah? Next time you see a Stradivari, look very careful. Maybe it's very difficult to see it actually with free eye. So now this one is definitely becoming a Guarneri, one of mine, the Guarneri Heifetz. I'm ready to close. Actually, I wanted already to close the body, and then I said, damn, I wanted to make the ebony crown. So I made it already much smaller because I wanted to make the ebony crown.
One eternity later.
If you like to see the whole thing, how I made it, sign up on my Patron channel. And if you're a VIP member, you can see the whole process, how I made it. For you now here, it's actually fine. I just want to show you how this is fitted. It takes a little bit of time, especially patience, experience, and preciseness. And that's why it is made only on a certain level of instrument. So somehow you can say, if an old instrument has something like this on it, there were already some experts on the work to make it all better than it has been before, but it is a great sounding instrument and that's worth doing such a work, okay? Some people just want the ebony crown because they just like it looks nice and charming. All fine to me. I do it on my modern-made instruments because when I make a copy of the Heifetz or the Isae or the Olebul, they all have this ebony crown, and that's why I make it, okay? I enjoy making it, it's fun, I love it. I also think it's a nice tiny part. It doesn't really affect the instrument's sound, but a little bit the aesthetics. I'm actually curious to know if you also like it. What do you think about it? Does your violin have an ebony crown? Do you think it changes the sound? Maybe you have an instrument where you got it made later on and then it sounded just like miracle. Let us know. We're looking forward to read your comments. And if you want to see everything, remember, Patreon is a great channel where you can see this content a little bit closer. I'm going to make that very often now on tiny details. So if you want to be a little bit more informed and see everything while Edgar is working, sign up on my Patreon channel. Ciao, ciao. See you later next time. Ciao, ciao.